Hi everybody, ArmyP here for eXplorminate, and welcome to my ongoing Let's Play of Stellaris with the new story pack, Synthetic Dawn. So if you remember from our last episode, the Yuri Collective and their allies we ended up declaring war on them, trying to stop their push and assimilation of their own to their own collective hive. We saw them as a great threat. They had almost double his fleet size. We ended up with a white piece, but we inflicted some pretty heavy damage, which also provided us with time to build up our own fleet. The only reason that we ended up declaring that white piece in conjunction with what we should have been doing was the Vool and their allies, the Tainted, ended up cutting off our main route inside of their space by building these two frontier posts here next to my cursor icon. So to again push on the Yuri, we have to take out the Vool and the Tainted. So I have off screen kind of prepared and got my construction ships up and running back again. I have now prepared for war. Just wanted to take a quick check of my, probably going to give some resources to my starving sectors here. I want them to keep up as much as they possibly can. Now I don't expect these, the Vool or the Tainted to basically put up any type of threat. You can see here his fleet size is pathetic on both fronts. So this anticipates to be a very quick victory for the eXplorminate assimilators, and we will have their biological and technological distinctiveness into our own hive. So without further ado, let's just declare war. No need for an insult. Why? They're beneath us. I definitely want those two frontier outposts. I'm gonna take them. I'm not gonna ask them to destroy them at the time being. And then I want Akamar, so I'm just basically building up everything that's gonna provide us with a clear front inside of the Yuri Kingdom. So this is a war to prepare for a war, if that makes any sense at all. And that's the way it's going to be. You can see here that my war demands, my war score is not very high because I've gotten so many of those bonuses while going to war. Bonuses being that I've got different types of tech, and I've also got my traditions that lower the cost of my war demands. So, without further ado, I am literally just going to take out both of their... I think that's pretty much it. Is there any... Yeah, that's it. That's all they've got left. I could vassalize them, but I don't want to. They will belong to part of the collective. So before I click Declare War, you'll notice that I've got two fleets. My 11th fleet has no admiral. Boy, oh boy. And I'm actually going to basically utilize two separate fleets completely. I'll end up being able to cover more territory, and because I don't think that these guys have any type of resistance that can harm us, there's no reason for us not to be able to split our two fleets together and cover more ground. I've also got my two armies on the go right now. I do believe that we have an available general, but he's only good at defending, so I'm not too sure I'm going to put it on. Oh, you know what I just did? Oh, jeez. When you exit the screen, guess what happens, everybody? That's right. You know what? We'll just do it this way. We'll see if I can't. We don't have to. I didn't know how many planets they had in general, so we'll just take everything. Okay, there you go. Destroy. Oh, okay, so we're in good shape. And I just did it again. Well, you know what? That's one of the things. We can talk about some of the changes you'd love to see. A lot of times when you're declaring war, you're ended up going in and around and changing screens a few times just to make sure that what you're doing is correct. Survey the land, take a look at different routes that you're going to be taking into their front, and oftentimes I just end up clicking that button. But I won't do it this time. What does he have to say? Finally, we'll measure our strength against the machines in battle. You're in for some deep poop. Alright. Without further ado, my fleet number 1 will go, and we will dive deep in there. We're going to get our fleet transports, and we're going to meet them at Tabor. That'll be our staging ground. You'll notice I have two separate fleets when it comes to our armies as well. So the invasion has begun of the Vool stellar autocracy. Okay, shouldn't take us that long at all to crush these defenses. Now, if you remember from the last episode, we ended up not having any break really from war. We've had war after war after war. We've basically just continually tried to attack and keep the pressure on the AI at all times. So we should be encountering the spaceport at this point. What do we got here? Looks like we've got a small fleet of 1.4K. That's nothing. Just gonna check on the first one. And perfect, he's already going there. And I'm gonna take my second army fleet and take him in. I can't imagine this is gonna be nothing, but this is going to be an easy mop up right here. This cooldown is just brutal. They ended up changing a bit of the cooldowns recently when it came to the warp drive. So you can see here I've got, you know, like almost like a 30-day cooldown for my warp drive. Definitely makes it difficult. Okay, so we're ready for the first invasion. Landing armies. This shouldn't be a problem at all. It isn't. Landing pods down, and the very first, yeah, that didn't take much. And we will continue on with our push. And that was pretty much eliminated. Perfect. Now on to... Well, I did lose a bit there, didn't I? Wow. How many did I lose? I lost one cruiser and it took me down almost 1,000 military points, which is pretty shocking actually. There's 2 planets in here, so this will take us a little bit of a longer time. You can see here, of course, what the AI is doing is they're going to try to rush 2 small ships back to the very first planet that we took. We're just going to let them do that. It's a complete waste of resources. They're not going to take that planet back, so there's no real point in stopping them. And even if they do become even slightly close to it, I'm not too worried about it. Okay. We're continuing down. How's our... Is this on light? No, it should be on limited. Unemployment. Get some more power generation going. What do we got for defenses here? Ooh, this is quite a bit of defenses. It'll be a good challenge against some of my AI robots. Okay, without further ado, we knock out more of their spaceships. That's it for them. Okay, let's see what our other fleets should be doing right now. Okay, we should be ready to go here. Continue bombing. We didn't ask you to stop. Alright. As the fortifications get brought down, we are going to land our armies. And this is actually going to be a little bit of a fight. They do have quite a few assault armies. So we'll see how this goes. Looks like we've broken the morale. Oh, on the defensive, we just completely outflanked them. That is a huge, huge loss for them. We've already got 38%, which is pretty darn good. And we are going to continue on with this sector. Like we're already ready to go for the fleet land on this one. What do we got for defenses? Quite a few 8 garrisoned armies on this one. Build a couple cruisers here just to keep my toppy tops up. Alright. Again, nothing compared to our military strength. And this one, I thought this one had a different one. It does not. So 54%. We have, what, did I miss something? No. Got that, that one's been pacified. So is this one. I thought that we had 2 and 1. Could have been my mistake there. This is the real treasure. Once we get a hold of that, that's going to be bad news Browns. I'll just turn on, yeah, they're already harvesting 20 out of a possible 42. Once we get this done, I'm going to add this into my sector, and we're going to be humming when it comes to different options. Okay, so I'm going to take this down. Perfect. What's the fleet over here? 384. That's nothing. All right, so we're already at 54%. So this is This is almost becoming a bit of a joke. Where are you going? Oh yeah, you're heading off to the last system. Impulse thrusters have been discovered, so what should we do now? Stormfire cannons. This is what I've been reverse engineering from the Yuri. They are definitely on kinetics, and I think I'm going to do advanced railguns, and the reason that I'm going to do that, it seems a little bit bizarre, because I want those kinetic cannons, which are a large module that you can put on for your attack ships. And this is one thing that I would suggest to everybody, is placing those on your destroyers, because a destroyer can have a front-loaded weapon with a large module, and it's got such a large range that it ends up being such a monster. Like a complete volley of cheap destroyers can completely change the dynamic. And then you can also have missiles for long range as well, and then kinetics are also good for taking out smaller ships. Mixing up the 3 different types of weapon systems is often best, and you can experiment for your own. That's just my personal choice. We're at 54%. What do we got here? Ooh, looks like where I found your shipyards. Such a shame, the Vool. I can't wait to have space mushroom soup. I mean, not that we really require to eat, but, you know. Who's not curious? Who seriously is not curious when you look at a giant mushroom alien and you're like, okay, I gotta know. What's it taste like? Okay, again, absolutely no problems. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my main fleet and just clear out, because my secondary fleet, to clear out any type of resistance behind the lines. We're at 67%. This is going to be a beast. Come on now, get off that warp cooldown. Imagine sitting there, you know, as a resistance cell or defensive army, and watching a giant fleet that size and having to sit for an entire month while it cools down. That's one thing about most 4X games, is it really seems bizarre when it comes to its references in time. Okay, so we got another tradition. Oh, this is awesome. So we've gotten to finish that. We've already finished. This will be our second one by 100 years in. You can tell our Unity. Oh, I'm sorry, it's my third. My mistake. By 100 years in, completing 3. It's not terrible. I probably would have liked my Unity to be up a little bit higher, but it is what it is. This is the only good thing about it, is my Unity will now increase 10% per rivaling neighbor. So, or my neighbor who I decided to make a rival. So, who are we going to choose for our third Ascension perk? Oh man, I would really love that naval capacity. That would be nice, but it seems like a bit of a choice. What's this? Defenders of the Galaxy? It seems a bit early for that. I got 100 years before I typically take that one last, because I have, I always play with the Crisis on. This is huge. Damage to endgame Crisis faction plus 50%, and then everyone's opinion is increased by plus 20. I'm not really concerned about the plus 20 at this point, because no one likes me anyway, but that 50% could be a big one. Another one I like to take is Galactic Defender. Damage to fallen empires and awakened empires plus 33%. This can make a big deal later on. And yeah, geez, it doesn't really look like I can do much else. So it's either increase my naval capacity, but I'm not worried about that, because my economy still has been able to keep up with my large fleets being over by, what, 63. So I'm going to take Galactic Contender, because if I can't take down the Yuri, I'm actually going to try to take down one of the fallen empires. We'll see. Just the choice I take. I like to have one, if not all, or both of those Ascension choices, because I really, endgame to me is the most fun when it comes to Stellaris. I really enjoy it. Okay, we're going to build a couple battleships. And where are we here? Take my fleet transport, bring it back to 14, and land my armies on it. I won't need you guys. And when it comes to my secondary fleet, I'm going to get them to take out that little trash fleet that they got buzzing around my head. In the meantime, what do I got? Do I have light or do I have limited? I want that. Migration proposal, don't care about that. You're all going to be assimilated sooner than later.
Construction complete.
Oh, it looks like we have a hostile fleet. No, we don't. That's just us being saucy and coming in and seeing... Ah, Wrath! Man, I love Leviathans. Gets a lot of flack, but I don't know why. Anyway, Leviathans was a DLC that was a first official story pack, much like the Synthetic Dawn is now. These Wraths are, well, every amateur astronomer who directed their gaze towards the Chilcian today reported seeing a spectacular light show, a series of colorful, rapid flashes accumulating in a burst of electromagnetic radiation. Essentially, these guys travel around through space and they just wreck everything. And yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, you should have a fleet of about 20,000 before you consider taking these guys on. But they are indiscriminate. It doesn't matter who's currently winning, and they will often go to a sector, wreck your spaceports, wreck your science stations, wreck your spaceports, and then just leave. The biggest problem I have is they often will go after the curators as well. So I wonder if there's a situation log. Where is it? Do we see any of them? Oh wow. Well, there he is. He is in our space. Ugh, couldn't have come at a worse time in the middle of an invasion, for God's sakes. No matter. We'll see if he can't. Wow, you can see. Then you can hear it. He's already taken up my mining location. No matter. I don't think that this war is going to last much longer anyway. This is going to be the end of it. 91%. Probably last one. What's this here? Whoa, what's going on? Oh, it looks like our fallen empires declared war on this small little planet that I think it's probably a primitive nation that decided to come out of there. Yeah, it definitely looks that way. I think it was a primitive that ended up spawning in the race, but they may have coveted their planet as well because they've declared war on them. Interesting turn of events. And while I'm at it, why not top up on some of these ships that since I got a stockpile. Hopefully it won't break my economy. Okay, perfect. I'm going to send my fleet back to 14. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to prepare for the attack on the Wrath. Don't want him flying around. Not only that, by the way. Oh, it looks like he's already gone. Kind of comes in and out of space. Oh, I've got lots of influence. This has happened quite a bit lately. One thing I will say, though, is if you got a chance to destroy them, the bonus is, depending on which Wrath and color, there are several colors, I believe 3 in total. It's awesome because you get a permanent bonus to several different things if you destroy them. So not only are they there and they're wrecking your stuff, they can also cause you a little bit of grief and some bonuses if you decide to take them down, if you're strong enough. What's this here we got? The collective mind. Looks like we've got an... Oh, look at this. Our fleet power. Their fleet power is inferior to us now. Well, he just wanted to humiliate him. Strange. I wonder why I was ticked off about that. No matter. This is it. As soon as we take this, we have won the war, and there's nothing left. And we have a direct route now to the Uri Kingdom, which oh, look at this. Didn't even take it. All we had to do was fly into their sector, and the Vool has decided to submit to our will. You may have shown military power. You may have shown your military power superior, but don't mistake this as an intellectual victory. I will assimilate even your hubris attitude. Okay, what do we got? The end of the Xandid, and it should be the end of everything. Now look at the size of our empire. That's what I'm talking about. Now I'm just going to take a brief moment here. I'll end up putting that back into a large sector in a moment. But one thing I want to point out is this is very uncommon. Typically when you see Stellaris pre-patch 1.8, you don't see nations this huge this early in the game. We're 100 years in the game. There's 2 contributing factors to this. Like there's essentially 4 major players and 2 fallen empires on this map. essentially. The reason that you typically didn't see that was the amount of AI that used to be on the map has been reduced slightly. Additional to that is that the ability for the AI to for early expansion has been improved very much. Like, it's almost an impressive amount. So all that gummed together really boils down to the into having these large standoffs, which is much more exciting than having to deal with several smaller enemy empires. So I just absolutely love it. So we've got unrest all over the place. We've got plus 90% to our empire influence and power generation. You can see here I'm at a whopping 677, or correction, 644. The reason is because I'm double over my amount of colonized systems that I can currently control. So I'm just going to open up my sector map. My mistake. And I'm going to start gobbling up these planets. I really don't need them. They're all going to serve the collective in the end. Probably turn spaceports on, allow them to... Wow, that's nice, eh? It looks like I have that. It is in my sector. What is that, by the way? Oh, I think it's a nexus, isn't it? If I remember correctly. Ooh, looks like I'm going to have two. Oh, that's a shame. I can't seem to bridge this gap. System not controlled by a sector. That's a shame. Means I'm going to have to make a separate sector for that, which is fine. I just like to keep a larger sector. Okay. And again, it won't let me do that either. Interesting. I'm gonna have to carve out some more locations. Oh, come on. That is a pain. I'll have to make yet another sector. So I'm kind of making these small little sectors all over the place. Reason being, of course, is that my space has been divided somewhat. And I can't go back to the war with the Yuri just yet. Because of, I'm not even going to bother putting any type of commanders. And the reason is because we've got on a cooldown right now from our last peace treaty. I'm going to declare my rival because it'll give me some more influence. Who else? I can declare you a rival. Who are you? Oh, you're part of the Qasim, so I can't even declare war on them either. When's my debuff down? And 5 more years. Lovely. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have about 5 years to kind of deal with this. Now, I am going to have a little bit of a problem when it comes to these sectors because they're kind of fragmented. They're not going to have a lot of bonus when it comes to being able to deal with their own economy because right now, of course, we're assimilating their entire population, so they're not producing very much at all. Once they're assimilated, it should be better. I think what I'm going to do is I can't attack them because they're actually... under the protection of the Qasim, is I'm going to actually prepare for war. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start building up my fleet. You can see here my fleet cap is much better than it was before. Maybe taking a look at clearing up some of our space and getting ready for the push into the Yuri multitude. This will be the flank. This will be our entire eastern flank right here, and we'll be pushing deeper into their territory. I want to take out those hive minds out as quickly as I can. Now, the interesting thing, and what I don't know, and I can't quite remember offhand, I'm pretty sure I'll remember it once I end the game, is what happens when you try to assimilate a hive mind pop. I'm pretty sure they just die, but I'm not too sure if they'll die before I assimilate them. Interesting. I'll figure it out. Trust me, the Yuri Kingdom will bow to the eXplorminate assimilators. Okay, everybody, so a little bit of a shorter episode, but that being said, the war went very well in our favor. I can't see any wraths in our space, but what I will do is, if I do encounter them, while building up my arms and preparing to continue the war against the Yuri multitude, I'll make sure that I get a little clip of it so you guys can see firsthand how awesome it is. Okay, everybody, this has been Army P for eXplorminate. Thanks for watching our conquest of the Vool, and I'll see you in the next episode.